Hey, it's Brandon with PNW CDL training. We are doing a Class B passenger bus slash school bus pre-trip, and I'm going to show you guys what the examiner is actually looking for and how to operate this test. So the examiner will be sitting outside actually, and he's going to direct you on what lights to actually turn on. You're going to turn on your left turn. He's going to tell you to turn on your right turn, as well as your four-way flashers. And he's going to have you turn on your headlights as well and check to make sure that your high beams and your low beams are working. Then he'll walk around the entire bus and make sure all the lights are actually working properly until he gets to the back, and he's going to have you go through all of those lights again, as well as your brake light, to make sure they're working properly. At this point, he will come inside the bus and he will sit down and he's going to ask you to start your air supply checks. These are the things you actually will have to do, and you're going to have to do them in this order with these numbers. If you do not, there's a good chance you will not pass. You will be automatically disqualified. So at this point, we're going to look at our air gauge. We are going to make sure that our air pressure is at 90 or below. We probably should have our seatbelt on. It is not required to have your seatbelt on in the range training portion of the course. However, some states may differ as far as rules. We verify our air pressure is at 90 or below so we can build our air pressure to normal operating range between 120 to 140 psi. At that point, the air pressure is going to cut out. The governor will cut out, it will stop pumping air, and the tanks will be full. So we're going to safety start our bus, make sure we're neutral, make sure our brake's out, start the bus up. Put it on high idle, and we're going to verify the air pressure is building. We're going to watch that needle, and at this point the needle is moving. Check out the gauge. As you can see, the gauge is moving. We're building air. Okay. At this point, we're going to let you know when the needle stops building, and we're going to listen for the air governor to cut out. Okay, well, it looks like our air pressure cut out at 135 psi. At that point, we can shut the bus off and we can push in the valve and we can start our air supply checks. The first check we're going to do is an air leak check. We need to make sure that this bus does not lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute with the service brake pushed. So we're going to go ahead and push on our brake and go ahead and time for 1 minute with our watch. A cell phone is also acceptable to do this, and you're going to hold it for 1 minute, and you're going to, as soon as that needle stabilizes, you're going to time for 1 minute. Okay, in order to speed up this process, I'm going to go ahead and let off the brake, and we're going to say the minute is up. For the test, you will be required to do that, and I did not lose any PSI at all. My needle started and stopped at the same point. The next test I'm going to do is my low air warning light and buzzer. We need to turn our ignition key switch on to do that. The low air warning light and buzzer should come on at or above 60 psi. So we're going to start fanning the brakes at this point, and we're going to point to the light on the dash when it comes on. Okay, there's our low air warning light. Came on at or above 60 psi. It actually came on at 75 psi. Our low air warning light's working properly. Our next test is our parking brake pop-out test. This valve should pop out between 20 to 45 psi. We're going to go ahead and continue fanning the brakes. We're going to let you know when that happens. Okay, looks like at about 45 psi. Our parking brake valve popped out. The examiner is going to ask you at this point, have you completed your air supply checks? And you're going to say yes, because you did them in the correct order. Now we're going to safety start the bus back up and build the air pressure. We're going to point to our ABS light and let him know our ABS light turned on and shut off, and it's working properly. If it does not have ABS, you can state this vehicle does not have ABS. Safety start the bus back up. Now we're going to start with the in cab in the bus. First thing I do is start with my seat belt. It's securely mounted with no loose or missing parts, nuts or bolts. It's not ripped, torn, or frayed. It latches properly, and it's adjusted to mean. You will actually latch it. Okay. And we're going to do our fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher is properly secured. Okay. It's properly rated, charged, and it's actually ready for testing. Our extra breakers are inside our dash right here. We have our body fluid kit and our first aid kit, which are outside the bus in the compartment where the doors are. And then we can move on. You can do everything else in any order you want. I'm going to start with my mirrors, my student mirrors, and both my driver's mirrors and crossover mirrors. They're all clean, not cracked, not chipped, not broken. They're properly adjusted to me, and there's nothing that's going to obstruct or impair my vision. We have our windshield, which is clean, not cracked, not chipped, not broken, and there's nothing that's going to impair my vision. We have our windshield wipers. Our windshield wipers, our arms are all properly secured, not bent, cracked, or broken, no loose or missing parts. The wipers are not excessively worn, and you're going to activate those wipers with fluid and show him they operate smoothly. Go ahead and shut those off. Now we're going to go ahead and get our side windows and our door itself. Clean, not cracked, not chipped, not broken. There's nothing to impair my vision. We need to just flip this valve right here to have that operate correctly. So we're going to show him our doors open and close freely with the switch. They're not cracked or broken or damaged, and they're working properly. At that point, our air governor is built up, and we're going to go ahead and shut our doors, and we're going to start with the rest of the in cab. This is our city horn right here, our air horn right here. It's working properly. Okay. We need to do our indicators, our left turn. Show him the arrow that it's working. The right turn, working properly. And our four-ways are also working properly, as well as our high beam indicator and our low beams are all working properly. And then we got our gauges. We have our oil pressure. It's at normal operating range, around 50 psi. That's working properly. This is our water temperature. It's climbing. It's working properly. These are our air pressure gauges. They are building. They are working properly. Of course, we got our fuel gauge. Don't forget to fuel up. And we got our tachometer and speedometer. They're all working properly. And we have our heater and defrost. When you set the defrost, you need to check the air out of here as well as by the windows to make sure they're all working properly. At this point, you can go ahead and take a look around and figure out what else you need to do. And as soon as your air pressures build up, you are going to go ahead and tug against your parking brake. You're going to put the vehicle in drive with the parking brake set and attempt to move forward. If the parking brake holds you, it's working properly. The next one you're going to do is push in your valve. You're going to put the bus in drive, and you're going to drive forward at 5 miles an hour, and you're going to step on the brake and show him your service brake is working properly. It has not pulled to one side or another, and our service brake's working properly. Then at this point, you can look around and make sure that you got everything.